good afternoon, or good morning, or good evening. It depends on where you are. Welcome to this IEEE Education Society meeting at the Expat Conference in Algarve, Portugal. This is a joint organization of the Portuguese and Spanish chapters of the IEEE Education Society. We prepared this technical meeting about the new frontiers on engineering. My name is Manuel Jericota. I'm from the Portuguese chapter and from the Polytechnic of Porto. With me, we have Javier de la Universidad de Deusto en el País Vasco. Bueno, no. Sorry. I can switch to Spanish. So we are here to present this session. Javier is going to talk a little bit about the people that are going to participate in this meeting. I will be one of them, and the others will be.
And the others will be
Manuel Castro,
and I think that you know, everybody knows Manuel Castro is there in the top, in left top. Manuel Castro. Unai Hernandez is with the University of Deusto. Manuel Castro is with the UNED, with the Open University of Spain, and Unai is with the University of Deusto. I think that if I remember correctly, the two presentations will be around Internet of Things with different scopes. After we will have the explanation of Manuel Cairo, the Spanish chapter, and his dissertation will be about wearables and all the technical things that are around there. And finally, Manuel Jericota will introduce the time. LPGA?
Yeah, no. I will introduce the future.
The future, okay, it's better.
Okay.
So maybe we can start with the first presentation, and after, of course, everything will be coordinated by Oscar. Oscar is in charge of the technical part to make the question. I think that the idea is every presentation will be around 15 minutes. And plus 5 minutes for questions and other discussion. So
okay, let's start.
So we're now, and a new person is coming.
I'll be back.
Thank you very much, Manuel. Thank you very much, Javier. And thank you very much for attending. I have now the list of the people. We have now 9 people connected to internet. We have João Matos, Luis Gomez, Manuel Vázquez, Pablo, Rob Reilly, Sharan Kalwani, and Big A, I don't know the abbreviation, and Nabil. Of course, Oscar Martinez Bonacci, our technical coordinator of the session. I will try to check where is my presentation. It's here. I will start this presentation today talking about the in-cloud and the projects that we have in the European part of the European Erasmus project. Mainly, I will talk about cloud. In cloud is cloud computing for SMEs, for small and medium enterprises, and IoT for SMEs is the idea of IoT for SMEs too. I will finish the presentation talking a little bit about MOOC. We are preparing the first MOOC of the IEEE Education Society about the open educational resources, OERs, and applications. First of all, I want to try to make some bit small of IEEE. We are now sharing a webinar of IEEE. This webinar is, of course, under the scope of IEEE, the general scope, but is mainly presented by the IEEE Education Society and the IEEE Spanish section and Portuguese section. I forget to put here the Portuguese section logo there. After this, we have the Spanish chapter and the Portuguese chapter, and of course, some branches, some student branches of the IEEE. Mainly, we are working under the Advancing Technology for Humanity, that is the part of the IEEE. Why we are presenting this kind of projects, we have in main, in this case, we are regarding the SMEs, the industry. We believe that all the applications for engineering and so on must be directed to SMEs, to a small and medium enterprise, because this is one of the bases of the industry we need to have for the future. In this case, we presented two different projects inside the Erasmus Plus activities in the European Union. First one was 2 years ago, the name is In Cloud, and the second one was 2 years ago, and the name is IoT for SMEs. Both are mainly devoted to the idea of to try to have competences oriented to these new and small enterprises, trying to be more competent in the European market and in the worldwide market there. The first one is cloud computing. We try to put cloud computing. Cloud computing is now a reality. It's probably, we don't know it exactly because you didn't see the cloud computing, but probably more than the half of the processing that you have in your real normal life is done in the cloud. It's not doing by your computer, it's not doing by your host, it's not doing by your phone or your tablet, it's doing by the cloud. All the access you do to Amazon, to do to Google, to do to any big one of the brands of the big applications are doing in cloud. And the good thing in the cloud is has a lot of advantages and some disadvantages too. Major part of the advantages are availability, shorten time to market, flexible model you can address and you can manage really easy. How is working your network or your host or your things there, and how they should be working in the future as their future is demanding. In general, it's a cost reduction and on the demand scaling, and you can try before to buy nothing. So you don't have to buy really, you make some kind of rent in this case. This is the reason that a lot of small and medium enterprise is moving the way they are working today to this new environment of the cloud computing there. We are working inside the project to try to have the VAT qualifications, the European qualifications for this kind of environment. We developed 4 different certificates there. We are 8 partners from Europe. We have a partner for Ireland, partner in Italy, Greece, Deutschland, 2 in Spain, and 1 in this case in Portugal. And the idea is to try to develop this kind of certifications for the people that is in the small and medium enterprise. That normally in the small and medium enterprise has the problem they didn't have too much technical people. They have some resources, some scarce resources in general, and this kind of resources used to be mainly devoted to the selling area or administration area, but we believe we try to put this kind of competences inside these people there. It's mainly oriented to business and financial, technical skills, cloud management, contracts, security, and data integration. We have 4 levels in this kind of certification. First one is for the people involved there, second one is for business, third one is for the education, and we have an umbrella, a covering one, that is more devoted to technology professionals. We have 3 tracks in parallel, and the 4th track is in horizontal. First one that is mainly devoted for administration people that is to be there. We have an introduction, security basis, cloud models, cloud services and applications, and finally we finish with some bit of legal and technical aspects that should be really necessary for the public administration people. Second one is for the business-oriented people that have to do some business there. They share, for example, with the previous one, the introduction to cloud computing, security bases, cloud models, and they changes the business model because the business services are different for the business in this case, and they share too the legal and technical aspects there. The 3rd level is for education, mainly for universities, academies, and high schools, and any kind of education, training inside the small and medium enterprises too. They share again the introduction. They have different things in the security and the cloud models, and they have the cloud services and the legal services sharing them. And the 3rd level, that is the more higher level and more technical in depth, they started to do talking about security because the security is one of the big issues for a really cloud technology professional. They talk later about cloud models, cloud architecture, cloud virtualization, all the insights of the virtualization, and cloud services and application development. All these 4 certifications we have until now are now mounted. We have now starting the courses we are delivering from the Uninetuno platform. And if any one of you are really interested there, you can send me an email. I will send you the links there. Or if you connect to the Uninetuno platform in Italy, then you can see there and you can have the certificates and the courses there. It's like a MOOC, but it's not really a MOOC-oriented platform. It's a really mainly devoted for the course platform. And if you finish the courses, you can have a free certificate in this case for doing any kind of the certificate you have. Second project we have is Internet of Things for SMEs. The idea is exactly the same. We are trying to develop consent and basis for IoT, for Internet of Things for SMEs, and trying to be more technical aware. Why we are taking this environment? Because this is a really huge business market. They have a lot of, they expect to have in 2020 a lot of new billions of connected systems in the network there. We have in the last years a lot of evolution for these kind of things, and the growing rate and the massive market opportunity, a lot of people is going there. We expect to grow too much from the 2015 to 2022, 8 times in the volume of the applications there, and the market is exceeding 1 trillion euros in the future. And we have, of course, a lot of different things, mainly devoted with as much as the population is growing up, as much as the applications and the environments is growing up with it. Areas new like agricultural, like health, areas like urban or rural environments are really a well seed to have this kind of Internet of Things connected to the future. There is out of national initiatives, Americans, UK, Germany, France, Italy, they are working all together to have these things. And later there is out of variations like Industry 4.0 in Germany or e-health 4.02 in Europe. There is all of mainly regarding this kind of things. What are the main objectives of the project? The main objective of the project is the same as this one, trying to have awareness inside the European small and medium enterprises to know IoT, to know at least the kind of applications and the potential growth they have, and the idea to be included in this area. The project would have more or less the same partners, not exactly the same. We have in this case 9 partners. In this case, we share the 2 Spanish partners, the Portuguese partner. We have a new partner from Germany in this case. We have another partner, Uninetuno, maintains as the Italian partner there. But we have, for example, in this case, some different one, mainly one in Germany and one in Austria in this case, and one in France is the last one. We develop in this case 4 courses. One is oriented to IoT decision makers. In this case, we are not really going to the business that we do in the case of the in-cloud. In this case, we work mainly to the development side. One is for the decision maker, that is mainly more oriented inside the company to try to define if you will go or not to Internet of Things. Other one is for development, one with microcontrollers and the other one with microprocessors. And the third one is the typical connection or the bridge between the equipment and the decision maker. That is the learning, the analytics, the data analytics, and the way to develop it. In the first one, we'll talk about Internet of Things technology, business strategy, overview and data analysis for the future. All legal issues are the best one that we have in the in-cloud project with the cloud computing. Here we have a lot of issues in legal aspects. And we talk about some basis in networking and security. Second one, we develop mainly for Arduino. The idea is that the people, that's small and medium enterprise that would like to go to this area of Internet of Things, will have a clear idea of Arduino technology, of Arduino architecture, programming, prices, scaling, platforms, and finally the network and security that is really important for this kind of things, mainly in microcontrollers, to avoid that kind of hacking or everything. Second one is with Raspberry Pi. It's a high-level system. It's a more complicated and more complex system, have more powerful, of course. But the idea is to replicate, in this case, the technology, architecture, programming, platform, and network security, in this case, for more high-level things there. And the fourth one is the Internet of Things data. The data is mainly devoted to Internet of the technology, device architecture, the network and the security. In this case, the data is really important to maintain really well. And finally, we talk about the data analysis and the platform. We are now in the middle of the project. This project has 3 years. The in-cloud project finished this year in September. This one, we are in the middle. We are starting now the developing of the courses, and probably in 1 year from now, in the middle of the next year, we will have the first courses available for the people. And to finish my talk, I will talk a little bit about the MOOC. We are making the MOOC the foundation to open education and OER. The idea is to develop inside the IEEE-X. IEEE-X is the effort that IEEE is doing to have some MOOCs. Now IEEE-X has around 20 MOOCs inside the IDEX platform, and we are developing the first MOOC of the IEEE Education Society. The development is doing inside the Board of Governors of the Education Society, mainly the UNED, the University of Polytechnic University of Madrid, University of Vigo, University of Northumbria, the university in one of them, one, I don't remind the other one. We have two more universities involved in the development, and we are developing now mainly the contents, and we are recording the videos, and we expect to be open on the 19th of August, and the course will have 4 weeks, 1 month to be delivered. The idea of the duration of the course on the student activity is around 5 hours a week during 4 weeks there. We have 4 weeks inside the courses. First one, introduction to the open education and open education resources. Second one is talking about repositories. Third one is talking about applications to academic industry. And the fourth one is talking about the OER application. And this is all that I'd like to share with you today. Thank you very much for the attention. And I believe we will continue with the next presentation. And later on at the end, if you have some questions and so on, we can have some questions. Thank you very much, and we'll continue with the next presentation. Will be this one. Unai.
Miro la cámara, ¿no? This is strange because I'm talking to the camera, not to the public that is here.
Sometimes you can
present it. Okay. Hello, everybody. I don't know where you are, probably all around the world. First of all, thank you for the IEEE for inviting me to make this short talk about the Internet of Things and the autonomous vehicles. As Javier has introduced me, I am with the University of Deusto, and as part of my research is devoted to mobility and intelligent transport systems. This is the reason for being here to tell you about the Internet of Vehicles and autonomous vehicles. Okay, this is not a real technical speech. It's only to offer you an overview of this new, not quite new paradigm. But you know that nowadays we have to put fashion words to all the things that we do, even if we have been doing the same things for the last 10 years, but we recall it in different ways. Okay, so. I don't read my slides, no, I consider a lot of things here, but you know that the concept of the Internet of Things is trying to allow all the things that we are surrounding to be connected on Internet, producing information. We can these things gadget process this information with the interaction, without the interaction of humans, and produce some results. Okay? And these results could be data or could be action over the environment. Okay, so probably I think that nowadays we can access to many things through our mobile phones, and without doing practically nothing. Okay? I like this quotation. It's not mine. It's from Tim O'Reilly and Corey. That the purpose of Internet of Things is to make human superpower. That we can control, or humans should be able to control everything, all the gadgets, all the stuff that surround us, using something as simple as a watch, the mobile. How or why we can do it? Because given the price of the electronics has been reduced a lot from the last 10 years, it's very cheap to provide connection and processing capacities to an umbrella, to everything that you can imagine that you can have at your phone, for example. Okay? And this gadget can produce and consume information in real time. Probably this is the concept. And then, thanks, not only you have to take in your mind that Internet of Things is not isolated devices that are in different they are able to share information by themselves, the EMS network, okay? And thanks to this information, the amount of information that they can produce, they can generate an automatic response according to environmental logic that the humans we have provided to the system. Okay? This is why humans provide the intelligence to the devices, provide the intelligence to the network. Okay? So I think that this is why they call that the Internet of Things. The purpose is to give humans superpower. Okay. To be true, I don't know how old is the term of the Internet of Things, but at least in my research area, there are a lot of fashion terms that have become very, very popular in the last 6-7 years. And probably if you research in ICTs and if you don't smart cities, smart grids, etc., you don't do nothing. Okay, everybody is talking about smart cities, for example. Okay, and smart cities is nothing else than give to the elements that are in a city the chance to produce information, to report this information to a cloud, okay, and generate new processes, generate more information that have been consumed by the citizens or by the governments of the cities, etc. Imagine that a smart city is a representation of the world. I mean, you have people, you have public transport system, you have energy system, you have water system, okay, and then you can combine the information produced by all these systems to make better the experience of living in a city. Okay, at the end, the goal of the Internet of Things should be to make our living experience better. Okay. Here also appears not new term, but also very fancy terms like cloud computing, big data, and machine learning, etc., etc. Okay. Maybe everything is related in a cloud, or as a colleague of my university told me 2 weeks ago, and now it's the fog computing. I don't know what is the fog computing, but probably it's another fashion term that in the next 2 years everybody will apply fog computing to many things. Okay. And now in the Basque country is all the companies and also the universities. We are talking about the industry 4.0, and it's curious because if you ask to different people what is the industry 4.0, you will have a lot of different definitions. Okay, so probably someone should create a workshop only to define what is the industry 4.0 and what you need or what is supposed that is the industry. This kind of the fourth revolution of the industry. Okay, but for me, this is not nothing else that other area of application of the Internet of Things applied to the industry. Okay, where you have an environment, a bounded environment like this is an industry where you have a lot of machines generating information that until or in some places these machines work isolated, not in a coordinated way, or at least only the coordination was located in only one point. Okay, now one of the concepts of the industry, this industry, is that the process units are distributed, and then the machines and all, not only the machines, the robots, etc. All the systems that are involved in a company could be interconnected. Okay, you can have information about what is your stock in your company in real time, what is the product, the performance of your all the stage of your producing processes. Even you can provide to your final product with some electronics to know in real time what is the performance of your product during the use by your customer. Okay, so everything is connected as in the smart grid. Okay, where you now the common customer as me, I don't want only to plug my computer or my laundry at home and work. I want to know what is the best time in the day to consume or what happens if I have an electric car, what is if I can save energy and storage energy to send to my car or obtain energy from my car to give it to my house, etc. So again, we need that things that until today or until some days ago they were not connected, we need to provide them connection capabilities and processing capabilities. Okay, so there are a lot of terms that we can apply to different scenarios, to different frameworks. Probably if you look for these cloud terms in internet related with IoT, you will find many different with many different forms. Okay, so if we apply this to the mobility, to the vehicles, so imagine that your vehicles can this is funny because this is the cars movie, okay, where the vehicles they can interchange information and they can actuate in a proper way. Okay, so this is what is called the Internet of vehicles. Okay, to be true, I know this term 2 weeks ago, but I have been doing Internet of vehicles for the last 10 years. But when I was preparing the talk, okay, Internet of vehicles, oh, interesting. Okay, this is the combination of the mobile internet with the mobility of the vehicles. Okay? And I think that it was, or it is a natural path. I mean, in a vehicle we have a human interface. Okay? So we have nowadays all the vehicles, all the new vehicles, even the cheaper ones, they have a big screen where we can obtain information not only with the radio or the music that we are playing. We can control the temperature of the car. We can also obtain information on what is the condition of the real-time vehicle. Even we can know if we are driving in an eco-friendly way. Okay? And even the vehicle can offer us some patterns to improve our driving style. Okay? We have a lot of sensors in the vehicle. It's true that some years ago, the information of this sensor was hidden by the manufacturer. It was only information that the manufacturer use when you have some problems on your vehicle, and then you have to go to the to fix it, and then they plug the computer, and they obtain all the information. Now, many manufacturers give you some information in real time about the state of your vehicle because they include in the service predictive maintenance service. Okay, so this is what it's also called that now the companies are not selling also products, they also sell services. Okay, so this is the way that, for example, Volkswagen or Volvo, they don't send you the car, they also send you a service that every year you can renew it because they can give you more services for your vehicle. Okay? And also, obviously, we have actuators on the vehicles. Okay? So, as I told you, for the last 10 years, I have been working Internet of Things, but I didn't know it. Okay, it is what we call the intelligent transport systems. Okay, I think that both concepts are the same. Okay, in an intelligent transport system, we have a mobility scenario like the one that appeared in this picture, where we have the mobility units that are the cars, the vehicles, the buses, trucks, motorbikes, etc. They can report information. Okay, we have also a lot of sensors and even actuators in the infrastructure. And then, until some years ago, the infrastructure operator can manage the traffic with this information. Okay? But now there are several applications that you can install mainly on your mobile. There are some cars that are deploying an open interfaces as Android car or iCar, where you can also install applications on board that you can have this information inside your vehicle. Okay, so this is more or less the concept of Internet of Things. We have elements that produce information, and we provide services to the humans, in this case to the driver. Okay? This is the core, the key aspect of the intelligent transport system. Generate information to improve the traffic management system and improve the safety, reduce the fuel consumption, etc. Okay. What is changing respect in the last 5 years? What is changing from this picture to this one? Is what is called the Internet of Vehicles. Okay, that for the last at least 10 years, there are a lot of research trying to allow that the vehicles can talk each other, talk what is called the vehicle-to-vehicle links, okay, where vehicles can interchange information but also interchange information with the infrastructure, okay, always in real time, okay. Not only with vehicles, with surrounding vehicles, also with the infrastructure and also with the pedestrians, because they are also part of the mobility scenario, okay. And pedestrians and cyclists, okay, is that it's called the vulnerable road users, okay. So it's a very complex scenario with different type of nodes that they move in at higher speeds, at high relative speeds, okay. And in this framework, the telecommunications engineers and researchers have a lot of work in order to define how could be this transaction of information, and because the topology of the network is changed very fast, and the requirements about the delay and the quality of service are really high. Okay, you should take into account that one of the goals of the intelligent transport system of this kind of scenario, the BANET scenario, is to provide to the drivers information in real time. Okay, if imagine that the car that is in front of you suddenly push the brake, in milliseconds you should be able to know it and take a reaction about that. Okay, so here it's a very complex scenario. Okay, there are a lot of research about how to manage these networks. Even there are a lot of literature about what are the best way to organize this kind of networks. Okay, they could be distributed. Sorry. This means that we can have different elements on the infrastructure that are called the roadside units, the RSU, that can take decisions about the traffic. Okay, not only a traffic management system that is in charge of manage and arrange the traffic in a specific or in a determined geographical area, but in the own infrastructure, the infrastructure can be managed by itself according to the information provided by the sensors that are already installed in the infrastructure and also by the vehicles. Okay, here is what we call that the vehicles are sensors, mobile sensors. Okay, because we can obtain a lot of information about the state of the traffic if we are able to monitorize the information provided by the vehicles. Okay, if in a motorway a lot of vehicles, the speed of a lot of vehicles is around 50 kilometers per hour, it means that there is a traffic jam. Okay, we don't need a sensor, we have the cars that are reporting this information. Okay? In this scenario, in scenarios with crowded that are crowded by car, it's very complicated, for example, to manage all the information and to provide to each car the possibility to report this information. Okay, this is why the Ieee standardization company, not board, has provided this standard architecture. Okay, you can see in this picture that in the access layer, this is a typical ISO layer. Okay, there are many different kind of interfaces for accessing to the medium. Okay, we have mobile communications like 2G, 3G or 4G, and now 5G generation of mobile communications. we can have Ethernet or CAN bus to access to the vehicle buses. We need GPS information, and we need to access to all the sensors that are deployed on board. Okay. Then, if we want to report this information to the cloud, we need to know how to arrange or to allow to all the vehicles to provide this information. And here there are a lot of research about how to do it. Okay, so it's not it's a really tricky question, and at least by the one that is not clear how to do it. It depends. From my point of view, it will depend on what the manufacturers will do it by themselves. Okay, probably it will be defined by big consortiums like Mercedes or BMW or PSA. So we have to replicate, or the idea is to replicate the same architecture in the different nodes. Right? We have the vehicles, we have the infrastructure, we have personal subsystems, okay, etc. But the sense or the goal of this is to create these cooperative scenarios where the vehicles can talk each other for a common goal, for a common benefit. Okay. So if we apply that, we move this topic to the autonomous cars. Okay, this is one of the millions of pictures that are about autonomous levels. Okay, for the level 0 where there is not an active assistance system, so we have to drive. I mean, we have to have our hands on the wheel, our eyes on the infrastructure, until the 1, 2, 3, 4, 6 level 6 where there will not be driver inside the car. Okay, I don't know if we will see it. Okay, but probably the technology is here. We only have to be able to arrange the technology inside the vehicle, and also with legal aspects to know how to make possible to arrive to this level. Okay, but there are, according to the interaction required needed by the driver, we have the different level of output. Okay, and here I distinguish between the isolated autonomous vehicle and cooperative autonomous vehicle. Okay, here you have the picture of probably the best well-known autonomous car, was the first one made by Google. Okay, as you can see in this picture, at least the big or the highlight word, they have a laser, have a processor, position sensors, orientation sensor, and radar. Okay, all this system. Well, if you read it in details, as in this one, that it is the next generation of Google car, autonomous car. Okay, there is not information. I mean, all the information generated or processed by the car is hosted by its own. Okay, the information here is not shared with other cars. Okay, this is why I call that, or I introduced the term of isolated autonomous car. Okay, it's like the Tesla car. Okay, Tesla car could be autonomous. Okay, but it is autonomous for itself. I mean, it doesn't care about the other vehicles on the road. A Tesla vehicle knows that it is surrounded by vehicles. Okay, but a Tesla car has not interact other vehicles for a common benefit. Okay, so the autonomous vehicles. The isolated autonomous vehicle had a lot of advantages. Okay, we don't need a driver. It could be a laser room. Okay, increase the auto safety. I don't know, maybe, because as the autonomous vehicle has to live in a scenario that there are non-autonomous vehicles, I don't know if there will be safety inside an autonomous vehicle or no. We depend also on the other vehicles that are surrounded by us. Okay, and as we don't have communication with them, I don't know if it's possible to probably we will increase, but I don't know what is the level of this increase. Okay, we will, with this vehicle, we should be able to make travel during the night. Okay, reduce or non-existing fatigue from driving. I don't know, maybe. Right, really boring. Even some of the accidents on Tesla car was because the driver were really bored, and the driver forget that he had to put his hand on the wheel. It was not the recommendation of Tesla. Okay? You can trust on the system, but you have to be aware of the system. Okay? Speed limits could be increased. Also, it will depend not only on the output, it will depend also on the infrastructure. Okay, we should be able to adequate the infrastructure to this increase, the increase of the speed limit. Okay, a reduction of the insurance. I don't know. I was talking with one of my colleagues, engineering faculty. He's an expert on ethics, and he had a lot of things to say about the autonomous car. Okay, what happened in a scenario with two autonomous cars will crash because it will not be avoidable. What will be the reaction of the autonomous car in this scenario? Or who, in a crash scenario, who will pay which insurance should pay? The car insurance, the insurance of the software that make it autonomous, so could be very, very big. Okay, so imagine now that we have autonomous and connected vehicles. Okay? We have a lot of information, or we have a lot of sources of information in the infrastructure, in a traffic scenario, as much as vehicles as we have. Okay, we also have the infrastructure with all the sensors that we can deploy to counting vehicles, to identify vehicles, to characterize vehicles, to know if it's big trucks, vans, etc. Okay, and we can give all this information to the autonomous car to improve this scenario. Okay? This is the combination of the Internet of Vehicles plus the autonomous car. Okay, so here I think that if we try to write what could be the advantages of connected autonomous car, here you can see that the benefits are more common benefits, not benefits only for the driver of the autonomous car, as in the previous slide. Okay, I think that all these benefits are only for the driver or the owner of the autonomous car, but here, if we are able to create this cooperative system, cooperative autonomous car, we will increase the public safety, and not only my safety, the safety of all the vehicles. It will be possible to improve the traffic management and coordination. Okay, and with a lot of applications like the platooning, etc., the emissions will be reduced, and there will be a lot of business. So, what will be the future? I don't know. Even probably we will not drive cars. We will drive, or we will ride some cars like the picture that appears here on the car. Or maybe our car will become as a living room with sofas where we can spend our free time reading or watching TV. I don't know. I mean, I think that these future scenarios could be possible, but only if all the vehicles arrive to this kind of autonomous system. Okay, where all the drivers can trust on the technology for driving in an autonomous way. Okay? But when I did the last courses of my university some years ago, and I finished my talk telling that if you like driving, why you need autonomous car? You remember an announcement of BMW that it was, you like driving? So I mean, sometimes the experience of driving, or we don't need that everything could be managed by the technology. Okay. This is presentation. So thank you very much. So at the end, if you have any question, I'll be there. Thank you. Yes.
Hello. Hello. My name is Manuel Cairo. I come from the University of Vigo, and my talk is a bit different. It's about wearables, but in a sense, it's very similar to the previous one because we are going to talk about sensors that can be in our bodies and that take
measurements of our heart rate, of our temperature, or physiological signs inside us that are also collected and uploaded to the cloud, and then we can perform calculations, analytics on them to get information, valuable information for us. So before to initiate, I would like to introduce two projects that we are being involved in now. One is the SNOLA, Spanish Network of Learning Analytics, that the University of Vigo is a member of this, with Deusto Technology and also the UNED. We are 8 research groups in Spain working on this topic. We have some activities. For example, yesterday we have a webinar with the groups, and we are going to organize a conference in Spain in conjunction with Madrid in next July, the first days of July. Well, in this webpage of the network, you can get information about our activities. We have been involved about projects in e-learning. Our work in wearables is related with e-learning applications. And in this way, one of the projects we finished in 2015 was Ieee, about virtual city games to promote engineering vocations among secondary students. And in this project, I would like to say that we have developed different scenarios for to train or to show the students, mainly secondary students, how to solve problems related with energy distribution, renewable energies, internet service providers, mobile coverage, earthquake protection or flood protection, pollution, public transportation in cities. Well, let's go to the topic of this presentation, that is about wearables. Wearables are devices that we can wear on ourselves, on our wrists. As maybe the most popular ones, and many of us are carrying now some smartwatch or some smart band that provides us information, for example, the heart rate. But there are many different kinds of wearables. Well, we have here in this presentation a picture of the market share of the main companies, with main companies in this market. A quarter of the market in 2015 was covered by Fitbit. It's not shown here in this slide, but Fitbit is was the first actor in this market, and then we have main actors as Apple, as Xiaomi, Garmin, Samsung, and many others. This is a new market, and here we can see the units of wearables in 2016. And on the left side, we can see that the wearables, smart bands and smart clocks dominate the sales. They are by a large difference, the more common wearables. On the right side, we can see the sensors available in these wearables. The accelerometer and the heart rate are very popular. We also have the GPS, gyroscope, compass, microphones, ambient lights, and then many other sensors that are available, but in a very reduced number of devices. Well, we know that wrist wearables are the most common ones, but there are many other different types. For example, we have wearables that can be taken in the eyes. For example, the first one and most popular was the Google Glasses, but this project was disconnected by Google. We have also the Snapchat spectacles, for example, for the Snap social network that are used to record videos. The Microsoft HoloLens or the Sony PlayStation virtual reality glasses that are very related with games and playing games. We have also wearables that can be taken in the ear. For example, here the Jabra Elliptic Sport that allows you to hear your music, even in the water. They provide a very good, very accurate measurement of the heart rate. So you can use it to, and then they include, or these devices in general, they usually include applications for mobile phones, so the user can check and can monitor what is his heart rate in this case. There are many devices that are related with the sport. We will see later something more. But here, for example, we have two examples. The footbed IDM Perform, that is used to measure how we move when we run, and we also have this kinemites tune, that is a device that we can put in our runners, and they provide information about the kilometers and the way in which we run. Also for the hands, we have, for example, this shot tracker that is related with basketball and can be used to measure the number of shots that we perform while practicing basketball, and it provides also an analysis of our movements. Or the Guardian, that provides information about the heart rate and the pressure, the blood pressure. So this can be very useful for medical purposes. Finally, we have also, for example, for the chest, the Polar H7, that is a very good device to provide measurements of heart rate, not just heart rate, but the variability in heart rate, that is very important for medical purposes. Or for example, the Mom Baby, that is used in babies. I remember when I had my first daughter, I always was concerned about if she was okay or not. So I think if I had this device, I will always taking care of the mobile phone, not maybe going to the vet to see for her, but there are many ways. As you can see here, well, these numbers have been taken from Bandrico, and they have a very large catalog of different wearables, and we have here the number for wearables that are in different parts of the bodies. You can see that there is a lot of them. Here, the picture is from some diapers that provide information about the urine of our babies. And there is a lot of them. The applications, well, they are mainly related with fitness. The popularity of these devices is because many people that practice sports, they like to wear these things and to measure their conditions. There are also many applications or devices oriented to support gaming or to support leisure. Now, there are many research projects that are focused on using these devices also to support medical applications. There are concerns related to the accuracy of these devices because this is not always good enough for medical applications, but at least for an initial stage in medical studies, or to try to identify if some person can have a problem, they are also being used in this sense. And of course, in the industry, for example, in the army, they are being explored for different applications. We relate the wearables with the self-quantification movement. This is a movement around that is becoming quite popular, related with fitness, and it's based in that people collect data about what happens to themselves, mainly when they practice sport, but also maybe when they sleep. And in this way, they get information that can be useful to improve and to know themselves better. This slide shows the results of a Sony Ericsson report from 2016. And we have here information about people that wears wearables and how they feel about wearing these wearables. When they wear, 40% of these people, of the people interviewed, say that they feel naked without a wearable. 25% say that they even sleep with them. Wearables are very personal devices, and many people are becoming very connected to them. In this other slide, we have also from this Ericsson survey, information about who is the person that takes wearable information, who is whom they are willing to share this data, the data that are taken from them, because this involves a lot of privacy concerns. But 50% of the users, they say that they would like to share the data online with no problem. And 67% they open to share data with third-party entities provided is anonymous, and 70% perceive wearable manufacturers to be serious in protecting their wearable data. This is creating that wearable vendors, they are becoming like data brokers. They have the data of the users, and they can offer to third parties to perform some studies. Well, taking into account our background in learning and our interest in new technologies, we decided to use to try to apply wearables in education. We reviewed the studies in this field, and we discovered that wearables were using well as educational tools. For example, as we can see in the picture, to show some simulations or some animations. Also, in language learning, wearables are situated in some parts of a table, and if the user moves to a part of the table and pronounce well the names that are in that table, something similar to this. And also wearables were used in addition to as educational tools, as quantification tools to collect information of the user. At this point, we focus our interest in sleep and stress because they are really very related with the academic performance of students. So our objectives were first to collect data from wearables. This is not good always. Then we saw that users take different wearables, but the data that is collected from different wearables cannot be integrated easily. We have different sensors and different data models. And also, it was not clear what indicators about the sleep and stress can be useful for learning purposes. So we developed and we proposed different indicators. Related to the collecting of data, what we saw is that, well, we have 4 different elements here. We have the wearables. Usually the wearables cannot be worked isolated. They need to be linked to a mobile phone or to a computer. Then this is the second part. The third part is the warehouse or cloud services of the wearable company, of the wearable bundle. And then we have our system where we want to provide some kind of services or functionalities. And there are 4 different ways in which data can be collected in the wearables to get it in our system. We can transfer from the wearable to our system, or we can transfer data from the warehouse to our system. And this can also be done directly or indirectly. Here, the first scenario is directly through the mobile phone from the wearable. Here is directly from the warehouse, but previously the data have to be taken from the wearable to the warehouse. This is a more complicated, but it's also possible. The wearable is taken to the warehouse, from the warehouse to the mobile phone, and from the mobile phone to our server. And this will be the simplest one, to take the data from the wearable to our server, but this is not working now because of battery restrictions. There are not devices providing this because it has a lot of consumption of the energy required is very high, and also these devices, the memory is not very large, so it's not available right now. Then related to the data models, we have a lot of problems related that different, everything is different. For example, many wearables or some of the wearables provide information about the sleep, but they have different weight in different names for the different stages of sleep, the different ways in which the time begins to start, the start and the end of the measurements, the accuracy of sensors. There are many problems that need to be solved. Of course, we are working with commercial off-the-shelf wearables because we assume a scenario where different students are going to have their own wearables and that can change. So in this case, the integration is very difficult. In any case, we have developed some applications for mobile phones where the data about the sleep, for example, is shown about physiological signals that we collect. We work with heart rate, with accelerometer, with skin temperature, and with galvanic skin response, because for the stress measurement, they are very good indicators. For example, related to sleep, we provide indicators of the sleep quality, of the sleep regularity, of the sleepiness level, mainly while the students are in classroom, sometimes very loaded, and also about the chronotype. The chronotype is related to if you prefer to do your work in the morning or in the evening. Here also some other graphics that we are working on. And related to stress, we developed, for example, in medical context, there are different tests, standardized tests to stress people and to check if they get more or less stressed. We developed an application to reproduce this stress in the mobile phone, so the user wearing the wearable and performing this test, we can take the measurements and reproduce this test online. Here, for example, we have some mobile phone captures of the stress level during the day. And we provided, for example, we identified different stress indicators, the snapshot stress, that is the instantaneous stress of a person, but also the accumulated stress during a certain period, or the latent stress, that is the stress remaining along certain days. We plan in the future to work in dashboards like this one for the teacher to know how is the level of stress, of sleepiness in the students in their classroom, or this one. As to finish, just some conclusions. For example, that from our work, we have, we think that nowadays, because wearables, in order to be used in our scenario, we have problems related with the low battery duration, a lot of problems related with interoperability. There is standard organizations, particularly the IEEE Standards Association, that is working on standards on this topic, and the standards are needed. We have also problems with sensors, and a main problem related that smartwatches, for example, cannot be isolated. We need a smartphone. But also we have a lot of opportunities. There are many applications that can be developed in this educational environment and in other ones, and that this is a market nowadays, and there are many vendors producing many devices, so it evolves very, very fast, and there are a lot of opportunities on this topic. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Manuel. We go to the last presentation of Manuel Pericota.
Yeah.
Try to change the computer.
No.
Yes. Probably.
So, I'm back after three very interesting presentations. Manuel sending data to the cloud from the IoTs, Unai sending data to the cloud from vehicles, Manuel Cairo sending data to the cloud from wearables. It seems that cloud, cloud looks more like a black hole than a cloud. But okay, so I'm going to talk about reconfigurable computing, a new computing paradigm that is going to take care of all of this data that they are generating. As you may know, last year or in the final of 2015, Intel bought Altera. Altera was a manufacturer of FPGAs, and Intel paid $60.7 billion for Altera. And why Intel paid so much money for Altera? Altera was producing FPGAs. I don't know if we can say that Altera manufacture FPGAs, because in reality they do not have a foundry, so they just designed the FPGAs. And why Altera is spending so much money on that? What can be better than an Intel microprocessor? As you may remember, this is the man responsible for the number of transistors, the complexity we have today in our microprocessors. In 1965, he enunciated what we call a law. It wasn't properly a law because it was empirical. He just observed what is being going on since 1958, when the first transistor, the first integrated circuit was invented, and he enunciated that probably the number of transistors in an integrated circuit will double each year, and if not to increase, it did not increase. By contrary, today the number of transistors in an IC doubles each 2 years and not each year. But well, anyway, this is the guy responsible for the evolution on device technology. We call device technology to the length of the smallest transistor that can be fabricated, and currently we have microprocessors and FPGAs being fabricated in a 14 nanometer technology. And Taiwan Semiconductor company announced that it will be producing 10 nanometer ICs this year, and it will start also in risk production 7 nanometer technology. And of course, IBM don't want to stay behind. So 2 days ago, they announced that they will be producing 5 nanometer transistors by 2019. And where are they going to use these new technologies? Of course, in microprocessors. I think that everyone knows what a microprocessor is. No? Well, indeed, even our granddad knew what was a microprocessor, because microprocessors were invented in 1945. It was John von Neumann who was who enunciated the basis of the computer architecture, a simple, flexible, a simple fixed structure able to execute any kind of computation. So in that sense, it is a very flexible architecture, because it enables the running of any algorithm. But if the algorithm is coded according a specific set of fixed instructions that are executed sequentially, instruction after instruction. And in general, it takes 5 steps to do this. Is the instruction fetch, after the instruction code, the operand fetch, the instruction execution, and the write back of the result. So in that sense, the main advantage of the von Neumann architecture is its flexibility. It can be used to program almost all existing algorithms and those that are going to be invented next week. So it's very, very flexible. But do not forget that algorithms must be coded according to von Neumann rules. The algorithm must adapt itself to the hardware. And you are going to share temporarily your hardware. If you have more than one application running on the same microprocessor, the microprocessor will be shared in a temporal basis among all the applications that are running in your computer. So another thing is that all algorithms must be sequentially programmed. So we have a lot of algorithms that cannot be executed at their full potential because they are inherently parallel algorithms. The promise was that manufacturers will be able to increase the frequency of operation of their microprocessors in order to keep increasing the performance of the microprocessors to overcome all these constraints. And the reality is that before 2001, they predicted that by now microprocessors will be running at a staggering 300 gigahertz. But as we know, in reality, they are running at 3 giga, not 300 giga. Why? Because technological limitations like switching speed, the dissipation of power you have on the microprocessor, and to the device scaling that is increasing the leakage currents. So the big question is, how are you going to increase the performance without increase the frequency of operation of the microprocessors? And the small answer has been, okay, we can put more processor cores inside the microprocessor, and we'll be able to parallelize certain applications. Okay, Intel is announcing that they will be launching until the end of the year, I think, the Core i9. It will have 18 cores inside one microprocessor. So extra cores multiplying the amount of data that could be handled by the CPU, but adding more CPUs never result in a perfect scaling. And why? Well, this is the guy to blame, Amdahl's law, that states that the performance benefit of parallelism is limited by the amount of application that must run serially. Indeed, all the applications have a certain overhead that cannot be parallelized, and so the increase on performance is limited. You can increase the amount of cores you have inside your microprocessor, but that will not result in a perfect scaling of the microprocessor performance. Another thing is that software must be written to profit from those cores you have inside your microprocessor. And well, software guys are not very good doing that. And it's difficult. The tools they have, the compilers they have, are not prepared for the hardware they have available, and so it's difficult for them to profit from all those cores they have inside the microprocessor. And there are another thing. When a microprocessor runs, it dissipates power. If you have a lot of cores inside a microprocessor, you have a lot of power dissipation, and you must be careful, because if you run cores at full speed, they will generate an amount of power that will burn the IC. Another problem is that you have multi-cores, but you only have one memory. So you need to share the memory, you need to share the system bus, and you are limited by bandwidth of your memory and of your system bus. And last but not the least, multi-cores in a single chip drive production yields down. So it's a problem for the manufacturers. The complexity of the chip increases and the yield goes down. So in sum, microprocessors are running out of steam. The Moore's law collapsed due to the heat and liquid issues, and now we have what we call dark silicon. And what is dark silicon? It's the portions of a device that need to be shut down in order to avoid overheating. And we have here a comparison between different technology nodes and between CPUs and GPUs. And we can see that with the 16 nanometer technology, if we have a GPU, we will have the GPU working at full speed, but only 10% of the silicon that is inside the CPU. The remaining 90% must be sleeping. Otherwise, the power dissipated by the GPU will be so high that will burn the IC. So you have a lot of resources inside the chip, but you cannot use them at the same time. So you are not increase the performance due to power issues. Another solution that is being implemented is to use heterogeneous computing. So you have more than one type of processors inside the same core. For example, CPUs and GPUs. GPUs for rendering 3D scenes and to perform mathematically intensive computations, and the CPUs for the operating system and for the data networking. But as we saw, CPUs are reaching performance limits. GPUs are very difficult to program, and anyway, they still use Van Neumann approach, so they remain sequential machines, and their performance is, due to that, their performance is limited. So, the best thing is to use application-specific processors. Processors that implemented the algorithm directly into the hardware. So, no more instruction cycles, no more instruction sets. You implement the algorithm directly on the silicon, and you get the highest performance possible. But there is a big drawback. It's that they have no flexibility. They only implement one algorithm. So what is the solution? Well, in an ideal world, the solution will be to have in the same device the hardware performance and the software flexibility. Is it possible? What do you think? Welcome to the future. Of course it is possible. It is possible because we have FPGAs. The FPGAs is the most versatile no-ASIC technology. You can implement in an FPGA directly on hardware. You can implement any algorithm. And since the FPGA is programmable, you can change the algorithm whenever you want. We talked until now about Internet of Things, about installations of sensors everywhere, about increased internet connectivity to connect all these things to the internet, but these things generate exponential amounts of data. And data is useful if you can yeah, someone is calling me. No, not now, not now. So we need a way to process all this amount of data that is being generated by all these things. In the future, we are not going to talk about the Internet of Things, but we are going to talk about the Internet of everything. In future, cheaper sensors will increasingly be attached to almost everything. 5G data connectivity will turn connectivity in something ubiquitous, and almost everything will be connected, so to one or more sensors, and all the data will be sent to the communications infrastructure. This will require that the networking infrastructure must be able to read all this data, to switch, to route all this data. So we'll have large-scale data centers. We already have now. We'll have cloud computing. We'll have wireless applications, and we'll need high-speed serial transceivers for routing all this amount of data in real time. FPGAs already support that. They have dual mode transceivers that support 56 gigabits per second, which enable terabit data rates. They support optical and copper interfaces for applications including ship-to-ship, backplane, and also direct attach cables. Around 2020, we will have something like 30 billion devices connected to the internet, and one of the problems that was mentioned before also, it will be to security of all this data, how to handle security screening. This will require substantial computing capabilities. So, what is the solution? FPGAs. They are ideally suited to performing these tasks. Why? Because they can operate quickly, they have the hardware performance, and they can be configured when needed to upgrade security settings. They can be used to process streams of data that use rapidly changing encryption or keys. So they provide the software flexibility. One of the examples of this is the project Catapult from Microsoft. This is the reason why Intel bought Altera, because Microsoft is using FPGAs in their data centers, and FPGAs will be the future in data centers. So they will buy millions of FPGAs. So Intel thinks that it will be a good business in the future. And we have here why the reason why Microsoft is betting everything on FPGAs. They say that by exploiting the reconfigurable nature of FPGAs at the server, the Catapult architecture delivers efficiency and performance of custom hardware without the cost, complexity, and risk of deploying fully customized ASICs into the data center. And so, in doing so, Microsoft has achieved an order of magnitude performance gain relative to CPUs with less than 30% cost increase and no more than 10% power increase. Currently, Microsoft, each one of these boards, they have one FPGA and one microprocessor. And so, microprocessor has been developing this hardware infrastructure for its cloud computing centers, and is also the technology is also being used to accelerate speed of internet searches at the Bing search engine. And one important thing is that in cases where a server has to handle a mix of workloads, that's the case in cloud computing, FPGAs are very energy efficient, and they provide a high performance solution because they can adapt to the workload. We have here the result of a survey of more than 300 CTOs and system architectures, a survey done by Forbes about the advantages of FPGA programmability, and 53% of them say that multiple FPGAs may perform tasks simultaneously, so parallelism. 51% proposed build hardware that uses FPGAs for extremely high-speed processing, so they are implementing algorithms on hardware. 50% due to rapid switching between tasks. 32 multi-purpose processing. 30 extremely high-performance data analysis that is required in cloud computing. 39% in easy reprogramming to accommodate computing environments with dynamic workloads, and 32 the proposed build hardware that uses FPGA for low power processing. So FPGAs are the future. Intel processors already have a combination of microprocessor and FPGA. The Intel Xeon that is used on data centers already provide part inside of the same microprocessor, inside of the same integrated circuit, provide a part that is reconfigurable. So you can already now use that reconfigurable part to implement algorithms on hardware on the fly. So this combination of multiple processors on the same silicon will enable designers to create products with considerably higher performance than individual devices. And why all this is possible? Due to partial and dynamic reconfiguration. For some years now, Xilinx and Altera, now Intel, are providing FPGAs that enable partial and dynamic reconfiguration. The old Virtex series and the old series 7 series, the UltraScale and UltraScale Plus, and including the Zinc family. The Zinc family is family is from Xilinx. It's family that has FPGA and embedded microprocessors, ARM microprocessors, and the Stratix 5 and Stratix 10 from Intel. They all enable partial and dynamic reconfiguration. So this will result in a new computing paradigm, the reconfigurable computing, the ability to provide a hardware platform that can be customized on a per application basis and a software control. And this will enable to get, in these kind of platforms, to get the same performance you have with hardware and the same flexibility you have with the software. The resources inside your FPGA will be shared among multiple applications, both in the spatial and temporal domains, which increase the performance of the applications that are running in the FPGA. So, will hardware implementation be as flexible as software ones? I think so. And that's my presentation.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. I don't know if we are aware to have some questions. We finished the part of the presentations here in Faro, in Portugal. I will, and I don't know if you have some questions there, around there, or we'll close the session. And in any case, if you have any questions today afternoon or tomorrow or someday, you can send me an email. You have my email as I send you the email there. And you can send me the question. I will connect with Manuel. Thank you very much for Manuel Yaricota, that is the chair of the Portuguese chapter. Javier Garcia Zubia, that was now in another session with Unai, that he's the chair of the Spanish chapter. Manuel Caeiro, that is the present vice president of the Spanish chapter too, and will be the next president there. And all the people that was attending here, thank you very much for to be here. And thank you very much to all of them. There is some question there. As far as I know, we have now 6 people connected yet. I believe Hamadou from Canada is connected there. Thank you, Hamadou. He's a really good friend from Canada. Is the standard committee there. Thank you, Hamadou. Thank you, Rob. Rob, are you there? From Boston. Rob is not there, probably there now. Okay, thank you, and see you there, and see you in any moment. And in any case, you can send me an email when you like. Thank you very much. Bye-bye. Bye-bye, Oscar.
Bye-bye. Thank you very much.
Bye-bye. Thank you.
Bye.